Hi, and welcome to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorist magazine, and this is Talkward, a fun little podcast where professionally funny people come to tell awkward and cringeworthy stories. I'm very excited about today's guest. She has been on the show before, but a lot of it has happened since last time she was on. She has a new book out. She has lots of things published. Lots of twists and turns have happened since then. So I'm very happy to welcome Jessica Delfino to the big show today. Hello, Jessica Delfino. Welcome
Hello,
to
Mark.
Talkward.
Oh, it feels great to be here. Well, to be here, and also there.
It feels great. It feels great to be anywhere these days, doesn't it?
It's such a crazy time.
Crazy time
in the world right now.
It is. You are in your New York City office right now, and that's in the Lower East Side?
That's right. Yes. I'm in my office in the Lower East Side, Chinatown.
In Chinatown.
Let's get technical, okay? It's
Sure.
called the area. It's called Two Bridges. It's just nestled in between the Manhattan and the Brooklyn Bridge. Very, very eccentric little corner of the Lower East Side, Chinatown, South Street, Seaport, where the three of them kind of converge.
And you're a badass biker in the Lower East Side area from that office because you've commuted over to the Weekly Humorist studios down on Wall Street, and you have a bike that is not just a bike. It's like a bike that, like you said, a Catwoman type crime fighter might ride.
Yeah, it's the most badassest bike in the world. Here, I'll show it to you. It's right behind me. You there?
I am here.
See, there it is. That's my badass bike.
It's like a bat bike.
It does. It's an e-bike. It's got these like humongous thick like the big tires on it. They'll just squish someone if they get in my way.
And it's like it's a nice matte black. It kind of has that very mysterious New York City Gotham look to it.
Yeah. Speed ride, and I get all over the city really fast. And in fact, I almost never ride the subway at all because it's quick. It's easy to use. The only thing that's a little iffy about it is I kind of have to bring it with me into places. I could lock it outside, but it's not very not a great idea.
I remember that. I remember you coming into the 110 Wall Street building with this gigantic bike, and we had to drag it onto the elevator.
Yeah, and I'm like shameless about it. I'm like, I gotta bring my bike. Sorry, and I just like cram it into the elevator, and I'm like, sorry, One time I went to see a play at a college, and my son and I rode over on it. I have like a strap carrier thing that I would put him in, and we would like ride there. And I got there, and the lady was like, you cannot bring that in here. Strollers and wheelchairs only. And I was like, this is my stroller.
Yeah.
Like, all right. And she let me take it in. Yeah.
Strollers come in all shapes and sizes. That's definitely a stroller.
It was my stroller. When my son was a little younger, we went everywhere on that thing. I used to take him across the bridge, which kept him so entertained to go over and see, the water and the boats, and it was the fastest way to get him to and from the park, especially, in inconvenient times. Like, for example, if he were to say, how do I politely put it? Like shit himself at the park or whatever.
Yeah.
Get him all cleaned up.
That happens. You never know, but hey, the park. And then, did you have him strapped ever? You had him strapped to you. You didn't have him strapped to like an apparatus that was attached to the front of or the back of the bike.
No, he wasn't in like a baby basket or anything.
Okay.
It's actually like
people drive those around New York and Brooklyn and stuff where they have the kids strapped to the front of the bikes like with their own little cart, and it's kind of selfish. Like your kid's gonna, if anyone's getting hit, that kid's getting hit first. And then you. So it's almost like you have your kid as a cushion on the front of your bike.
Yeah. I think those things are called like Bach-feets or something.
Mm-hmm.
Bach-feet. Spelled like Bakfeit or something like that. And I believe the style or the like vibe of it, and I know this because I researched thoroughly, because I was like, how am I going to get around town with a baby? I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to be a mom who's got like this giant stroller, who's like pushing it through the neighborhood, and who's like, getting stuck behind people, and who people are just kind of acting oblivious to, and because that would infuriate me. So I was like, I got to be able to get places quickly with a baby and do stuff, or else I'm going to lose my freaking mind. So I looked up Bach feets, and those are really popular in like Denmark because there's no cars really, and there's no traffic, and you know, the bike culture is super intense. There's like bikes everywhere, and if you don't have a bike and you don't have a Bach feet, you're like a weirdo, you know. So that's like a really great place for a place like Denmark or something. But here in New York, taxi cab drivers do not give an F about Bach feet or babies or, you know, and people driving.
They do not. And places like that in like Denmark and is it like Norse countries? People put their baby strollers just like outside of a shop or something, and there's just like a line of babies, and they're fine, and no one's gonna take your baby. But if we did that here, like A, you'd get arrested immediately, and B, someone would just steal your child. So
you know, like just missing tons of even more missing babies than there already are. Yes, it would be. But I wanted to be able to, you know, have all of those benefits, but also like have a sweet ride, you know, because strollers, like no matter what they do to them, and they've done a lot, they've made them look real sexy and made them really expensive. But whatever you do to a stroller, it's just like, it's not cool, you know.
Still a stroller. It's like a minivan is still it's still a minivan, you know.
Yeah, but like a sweet ass e-bike, you know, add a baby, it's still a sweet ass e-bike. So, yeah, and I think that some people might think that's kind of strange or unsafe, maybe, to be zipping around with a baby on an e-bike. But let me just assure you, baby wore a helmet, I wore a helmet, and I shouldn't say baby because he was like 2 you know, 2 to 3 was kind of prime e-bike year for us. He wore a helmet, I wore a helmet. And I probably went like 2 miles an hour, you know what I mean? But it was faster than walking, faster than riding the subway, and just easier, you know, to zip around quickly. Yeah. But yeah.
And what's your, you have a son?
I do. He's 4 years old now, and he is totally like a hellious child. I love him so much, but he's like, his energy level, me and his dad are both, you know, we're pretty chill. I'm from Maine. His dad went to like an Amish Quaker school or something, you know, and we're both pretty mellow. And this kid is like, so like jazzed all the time. And our energy levels just do not match at all. So it's been a really hard challenge of being, you know, like chill mom to this like raccoon child.
And I mean, what a cool mom that you are. I mean, you're like this, you know, musical comedian, sort of badass New York City comedy person who paved her own way, and you know, you have albums out, and you know, if you look up yourself on Wikipedia, it's all about, you know, how taboo you are and how like badass you are, and you know, you have this son who's like kind of driving you crazy, and you're the calm one, and that's kind of fun. And he gets to live in this fun, you know, New York City upbringing with a mom on a Batman e-bike. Like you guys just sound like a great crew.
We have a lot of fun. We really do. And he, even though he has this crazy energy, he's really great doing all the things that me and my husband want to do. We'll say, like, for example, the other night I actually woke him up at midnight. I put him to bed around like 7:30, you know, and he's usually asleep by 8. And so I let him sleep until midnight, and then we woke him up at midnight because there was a slim chance that we could see the aurora borealis in Pennsylvania, because there's these really intense sunstorms right now going on. Mm-hmm. And so I got him up and I got him, you know, in the car and everything. He was like, "Where are we going?" And I was like, "We're going to see the aurora borealis." And he was like, "The what?" And I was like, "It's just come on, it'll be really cool. We're gonna go see some lights in the sky." And we drove around and tried to find the aurora borealis. We had to get quite a ways outside, you know, because there's so much light pollution everywhere.
Yeah.
We nice hill and sat on this hill in the car, and I opened up the sunroof and we just like stared at the sun, at the, you know, sky until we all basically fell asleep, and then we went home. We didn't see the aurora borealis.
But what an adventure.
Yeah, and he was into it. You know, he was like, "All right, cool, yeah, I'm on board for the aurora borealis. Let's do it."
And you'll talk about that in 30 years, and he'll remember that day. Remember when you woke me up in the middle of the night and dragged me outside to look at the sky, and then we didn't even see anything? That was
Yeah,
fun.
I hope I'm not traumatizing him. You know what I mean? It seems
I
fun
mean,
to
everybody's traumatizing everybody, right?
do. Life is traumatizing.
Life is
It really,
traumatizing.
but I can't help but feel like, I mean, I'm a human being and there's things I want to do and I'm not going to not do them because I have a baby. None of them are like, it's not like I'm doing illegal stuff or, well, not totally illegal, but, I don't know. I just hope that one day he looks back and he's like, that was pretty fun to be a kid in New York and to get to do all that cool stuff.
It sounds like you're an amazing mom and very cool mom, and you have lots of cool projects, and you do lots of fun writing things, and you've switched gears a little bit to do a lot more writing, less performing now. Obviously, we've all had to pivot quite a bit in the past 9 months. So you've been doing a lot of writing. You have a book out, um, "Dumb Jokes for Smart Folks," which
Yeah,
is a wonderful book.
I
Um,
do.
I know. Yeah, everybody has to hold up their book. We love it, and this is a fun book. Like, this book is full of. I was the kind of kid that bought joke books,
Me too.
and read joke books. All the truly tasteless jokes. I mean, there's so many of those joke books, and they're full of puns, and they're full of one-liners, and they're full of all kinds of stuff. And this is just like those, but it does have a bit of an adult theme. Nothing's really dirty until you get to the back part where there's more of adult jokes, but just the
Yep.
way that these jokes are written, the rhythm, yeah, it's something that you don't get from the regular kid joke books, where this is more almost like there's like running gags, there's rule of three type jokes that almost all these jokes kind of run together, and they get funnier and funnier, from the top to the bottom of the page. And
They're
I mean,
definitely different. It's a little different than your classic joke book,
yeah,
and that's why that um, I had so much fun writing it because it, as a person who's been writing jokes for so long, it's pretty easy to sit down and write jokes. So I wanted to do something that was just a little bit more challenging than that, I guess. So I gave myself these little challenges, like there was one that's like name an animal comedy club. So it's like, what's a good name for a cat comedy club, for a dog comedy club, for a zebra comedy club, and just kind of went down the list and came up with, like 8 stupid comedy club names that if an animal ran them, which like some people might be like, why would I want that? Well, you wouldn't, there's no reason you would need it or want it, but it's just stupid fun. And that was really like the premise of the book, is just a bunch of stupid fun.
and how long did it take you to come up with all of these jokes? Because um, Humorist Books put this out, which is an imprint of Weekly Humorist, and I know that we were talking about this book in the summer, but then when did you actually start writing this book? And you turned it in around Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how does one go about coming up with so many jokety joke, one liner, pun type things? Like, this is hard. Like, for most people, this would be really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I started pretty much, I had stuff written when I pitched the book, but not a lot. I had like a few pages of jokes, and then I just used those and built on them. So I looked at those jokes and I was like, oh, well, what would be another fun thing that would fit in this theme? And then as I went about my day, just like a comedian does, where they're like kind of looking around and keeping the antenna open, for material and for bits and whatnot. I did that, but for jokes. So, for example, if someone said something on TV that had a weird sound or cadence to it, I'd be like, I'm going to write that down. And I found a really great to write, which is really important. And, for me, when I'm writing a song, the instrument is really important that I use to write the song. Whenever I get a new instrument, I write like an album's worth of songs, because it's just like there's this creative thing that comes with a new instrument. It's like when you have a new boyfriend or girlfriend and you like them so much and you
Yeah.
want to be around, you want to know about them. It's kind of a similar vibe, I guess, with an instrument. So with this book, I found a great writing spot. It was this beautiful, like outdoor patio kind of environment overlooking this beautiful sort of like nature kind of scene. And I went there as much as I could. And through the seasons, and I saw it, changing. I kind of documented it a little bit on Instagram. But that was really inspiring to me, was just to go to a really cool place where it was quiet. Because as a mom with a kid, in some regards, it was totally easy to write jokes with a kid because he would do things and it would inspire a joke or whatever. But sometimes I just needed a little peace and quiet, because this kid, he's really loud.
Did you have to try out all of these jokes as you wrote them? Did you try them on the husband and the kid? Did you say like, "Hey, listen to this. How's this?" And they would be like,
Yeah,
"No,
I did.
yes."
Well, my husband is like, I love him and I'm married to him, but he's such a dick in terms of like, I hate him. He's like an audience member who I would ask to be bounced out of the club because he'd like sit in the front row and be like, "Not funny," In some ways, that's really good because it makes me try harder to get him to laugh. But then in some ways, I've just kind of given up on him because I'm like, you know what? Like, sometimes I can get laughs out of him. Sometimes I can't. Usually he's just kind of like, he's very cool. He's like a really cool, he's a photographer. Photographers, they think they're so cool.
They think they're so cool with their photography.
I swear, I've never met a photographer who doesn't think they're just the fucking coolest. And he definitely thinks he's really cool. And he is. He's very cool. But, I did meet him on Craigslist, though, okay? So he can get off his high horse. But, yeah. He definitely...
Was that a misconnection?
It was not a misconnection. It was a women seeking men. I posted an ad. Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we met on Craigslist. I posted like women seeking men ad, and it was very specific. I wrote a song about it. It's called Classified Ads, and it's on my album, I Want to Be Famous. And the New York Times wrote a story about it in New York Times Vows. Yeah, it was a really crazy thing. I wrote my wedding on a unicorn. It's a beautiful story.
Okay.
But yeah, so we met on Craigslist. I met like 300 guys. I didn't meet them, but I got about 300 responses. And I went on 4 dates because I had about like 15 dates planned. I got the flu, and I was like, "Sorry guys, dates are canceled." And he kind of came like at the end after all the shenanigans, and so we ended up really hitting it off. He was just like he was very cool, and he was a photographer, and he was really cute. And yeah.
What a New York story. What a story that should be a movie, and then people would watch the movie and be like, "Well, that would never happen in real life."
That's what I said.
Too unbelievable. Too unbelievable.
Actually, because somebody sold a story like it to some movie company, and I was like, "That's my story." But that happens a lot if you live in New York City and you're a creative person. Here's a couple things that happen a lot if you live in New York City and you're a creative person. One is that you see your idea turned into a movie, or a coffee, or a sign, or a billboard, or an ad, or a commercial, or a business. Like that, it just happens all the time. The other thing is people that you hate get really successful, and then you see their faces on the sides of buses every day. For that happen if you're a creative person in New York.
But that's good. You need to be happy for everybody that...
Totally. I totally agree. I couldn't agree more.
Because then they can help you. That's why you got to be nice to them, because then they can help you. And you're like, I think you're wonderful. Lift me up. No? Damn it.
To do that, those people get real weird about it, and it's funny because I know a lot of people who have become very hugely famous, and because I've been doing comedy in New York for a long time. I started in 2001 in New York City. I moved here just in time for 9/11. Great time to be in comedy in New York.
Time to be in comedy.
And I met a lot of people who went on to become hugely famous. And if you try to reach out to someone after they've sort of become famous, they, in a lot of cases, a lot of people do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because they're getting a lot of people reaching out, too. It's not like you're the only one that they're saying, like, I'm too busy to. It's like, I'm sure it's a ton of people that are much less than you, that they know much less than you, that are bothering them more than you. But you started also in Philadelphia doing some comedy?
Yeah. It's a funny little story. I went to college at the Art Institute, and I met Kurt Metzger when I was in school down there, and we dated for like a couple years, and like we were in love.
Kurt Metzger's a funny guy.
Metzger, yeah. So
great voice. He was a great voice on a wonderful animated show, Ugly Americans, on
Yeah,
Comedy Central. He was so funny on that.
he has a real like style in it.
Yeah.
But he was an amazing artist. We were in school for animation, both of us, and he and I and Big J and Little Kevin Hart. We used to kind of bop around the comedy scene together.
Kevin Hart, we can give him a call. We'll have him jump on the Talkward with us right now. I'm sure he can pick up.
And I've reached out to Kevin. You know what I mean? An example of somebody who he was never mean to me. We were friends for a long time, so I really didn't feel like out of sorts, kind of reaching out to him. And I think if I saw him somewhere and I were like, "Hey, Kev, how you doing?" I think he'd give me a hug, and I think he'd be like, "Great to see you." You know what I mean? But I kind of wouldn't. I wouldn't like. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't really want to ask him for anything because, it's been a long time since we've known each other, and we were never like BFFs or anything.
I'm sending Kevin Hart a book later today. Kevin Hart's getting a box of dumb jokes for smart folks.
Beat my book, Kev. No, but yeah, Kev. He was always really nice to me.
And then Jim Gaffigan.
Knew Jim from we knew each other from around the comedy world, but I used to have a show at the Bowery Poetry Club with a couple friends, Diane O'Debra and Stephanie Savelli, called Skits and Tits. And it was this amazing, amazing comedy show that was like packed.
Has me hooked. I'm right there.
So fun. And he lived, I think at the time he lived above the Bowery Poetry Club. So he would come down and do sets at that show all the time. And we kind of struck up a friendship through that. And he's always been amazingly nice to me. And then he had me, I got to be on his show that he had for, what was it?
The one on TBS?
Yeah, that he did with Jeannie.
That was a funny show. That was a good show. And he gave you we have a nice Jim Gaffigan pull quote on the back of the book. You have some great pull quotes on the back. Colin Quinn gave you a nice one. Dave Hill. Dave Hill is so funny.
He's the best, and he's super funny. And all these people who, gave me a shout out are funny, and I'm very grateful for the nice.
Will Wheaton gave you a nice quote. He's a funny guy. He's nice. He's a very popular personality on Instagram. Those Star Trek-y people love him, and he's kind of kept things going, post Star Trek.
Right? Talk about pivot. I mean, this is a funny thing about Will Wheaton too, is he was like one of my big childhood crushes. Him and Julian Lennon were my big childhood crushes. And so I was pretty flattered when he wrote that actually about my blog. She's a brilliant writer. And it was about my song. I think it was my song, I Want to Be Famous, maybe. I'm forgetting now, but I put the lyrics on my blog, and he gave me a shout out about it, which was really.
You have you've been published a lot of places. You've been published McSweeney's, which is a huge comedy site, New York with the Washington Post, and that is most.
I've ever been published in the Washington Post. I don't.
Is it the New York Times? Is your parenting thing the New York Times?
Times a few times, the New Yorker, and also McSweeney has published my satire, and I've also been published in like some other places that like AARP has a piece of mine coming out this month.
AARP.
Yeah, they have a really cool newsletter called The Girlfriend that's Gen X kind of like oriented.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a piece in that called it's like you're 40 when blah blah blah. So that's a fun thing that I'm looking forward to.
Can you give us a little taste of that? What do I know about being 40? I just turned 42, though I'm not recognizing it officially, and I'm going to be turning 42 again next year because 2020 birthdays do not count. That's
true. They don't. I would definitely, you have to celebrate twice as big next year and pretend like this just didn't even happen. I don't really remember. This one of the things about my shit. I said it and forget it. But let's see. What was
the parenting article that you just had come out in the New York Times?
That was fun. Yeah.
And that was about parents keeping weird things from their children's childhood. And there was one about foreskin that has burned in my brain after reading that. So, what were some of the other things that parents kept of their children of their childhoods?
One of the funniest things that I loved about that story was that the woman who kept the foreskin in her freezer, she wasn't the only woman who told me that she had a foreskin in her freezer. So it's not crazy uncommon, and no judgment at all, because you can't judge other parents. It's just parenting is too insane. And anyone who doesn't have kids, I mean, I can't explain it any more clearly than that. But like if you don't have kids, it's when you click over to that, you're just like, so much stuff makes sense, and you're like, oh my god, this is so fucking bomb.
I think if you saw the amount of stuff that I collect and hoard, I think I would be one of those parents too. I think I would have I'd have all kinds of weird stuff in my freezer, and just practically, just future proofing.
Mm-hmm.
You keep that kind of stuff in case they can make something to help your kid in the future, like stem cells, or you got to grow a new kidney or something. Like, I don't know, keep all this stuff, and then maybe they can make some magical potion out of it.
Look, if you toss it in the freezer, it's not going to bother anybody. Just right on, right on the back.
Expiration date, that's fine. Do not eat. Maybe write that big.
Yeah,
as big as possible.
In permanent marker. In my freezer, I have a very small, New York City freezer that I just have crammed full of stuff, and all kinds of food and fruit and old cakes that I made that I was going to eat that someday, or whatever. And I I hoard food, and I had a brownie. I went to a show and I performed, and someone gave me a weed brownie, and I was like, I'm nursing. I'm not going to eat this weed brownie, So I took it and I stashed it in the freezer, and I was like, I'm going to give it, someone's going to come over, one of my friends, and I'm going to be like, I've got just the thing for you, Melissa or whoever. And I put it in my freezer. And then my husband's grandmother came to visit, and I was in the bedroom with the baby, and I came out and she had like chocolate around her mouth, and she was like, oh, I hope that brownie in the freezer wasn't, I hope you weren't saving it for anybody because I ate it. And I was like, that was a pot brownie, Gran. And she's 85. She was fine. She didn't even feel anything because, I don't know, I guess she's been through it all.
She's on a lot of stuff already, I bet. So she was probably like, oh yeah, this is like my usual blue pill that I take around 3:00.
Yeah, so it turned out okay.
My glaucoma's gone. Fantastic.
Should have written, weed brownie, do not eat, or something. So I learned a lesson.
When you're writing all these things and you're getting published all these places, what can we tell? I'm sure we have lots of writers and comedy people watching this video to learn about you and your process. So how are you getting in all these places? Do you submit all over the place? What do you do? Who do you talk to?
Okay, so when I had my baby, it was a lot harder to go and perform, but I still had things that I thought were funny that I wanted to say and talk about. So I started writing these little short kind of articles and blogs and stuff, and sharing them with people. And I didn't really have any samples. I had stand up, but that doesn't really translate so well when you're trying to pitch a piece of satire. So I got a Medium blog, and I started writing on Medium. And then I had a couple blog posts that had, like some views and some responses and whatnot, and I could use those as my samples to send to the people that I wanted. Like, I kind of like, have you ever seen the thing about the guy who has a paperclip and he trades it for a house eventually?
Right.
I kind of did writing, so I started at Medium, and then I got some stuff over at like Mommy Nearest, and then I sold some stuff over to like, Red Tricycle, I don't know, whatever the mom blogs were. And I just kind of slowly worked my way up. And it didn't take a long time before I had sold a piece to The Atlantic, and I sold a piece to, a couple pieces to Self magazine. So
building up those news, writing clips or whatever people would call them, and building up that portfolio or of work, even if it's not any place big, is probably the first good steps for any writer to do that wants to go and get published in bigger places. Is you get published a lot of smaller places and do good writing there.
You have to write if you want to get published. And I think that a lot of people have this like mentality of, I know how to write, so I'm just going to write something and try to pitch it to like the biggest newspaper I can. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because you might get through that way. I mean, You know, it's so bizarre. It's different for everybody. I've heard so many crazy stories. I was sitting eating a scone and Martin Scorsese asked me to be in his movie. You know, I mean, it's like, it's just not the same for everyone. But for me, just kind of working my way up, and it not slowly. You know, it just took a couple months. It didn't take a long time, and so
That's
you know,
amazing.
got to start though. You know what I mean? Well, I had years of experience like doing comedy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? When I started writing satire, I could already formulate jokes. I already kind of could like come up with ideas that were, I thought, pretty funny. And, you know, and I was working in the niche. I was working in the parenting kind of niche, which I don't think there's a ton of, at least when I kind of started, there wasn't a huge amount of parenting satire. Now there's a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the last like couple years, it's just really gotten huge. I mean, I started on TikTok, back when TikTok was like just kind of breaking, and it is completely now like all moms on TikTok.
Really?
And they're great. Yeah. I mean, there's just like a million funny moms on TikTok. And
So how do you break through on a place where there's tons of people already doing the same kind of stuff? I mean, you have to make something a little bit different. You have to, you got to stand out in this crowd. How do you do on TikTok? What's your stuff like?
So on TikTok, I started just kind of doing my own, like, whatever. I have this mentality of like, well, I want to write about what I think is funny, and I don't really care if it fits into a mold. And that's great. But I think that it's also a little bit alienating because people, for whatever reason, they like things that fit into a mold, you know? And I think it's going to make more sense. And I've heard my whole comedy life, know your audience, perform for your audience, you know, and I started doing this kind of like vagina comedy, woman, you know, female power, lady girl power type comedy stuff, which it's weird to change gears and then be like, okay, I'm going to write stuff about parenting now. So
that is something that pops up on the Wikipedia. If you look you up, it talks about like vagina music or vagina comedy is like in the first like 2 lines.
like one of the pioneering New York City vagina comedy, you know, and it was really fun at the time. But things have changed. You know, I'm singing songs about how my pussy is magic in my 20s because I was like horny and young and crazy, and you know, like I wanted to, like, I don't know, just like get that energy out and explore it a little bit. And then I had a baby and I was like, oh my God, this is all like a fucking trick. This like energy inside women that's like, you know, look at me, I'm beautiful. You know, it's like when I got to the point where I had a baby, I was like, I felt so hoodwinked by nature. I can't even describe it to you. It was like nature had tricked me. She was like, ha, did what I wanted you to. Now get in the kitchen or whatever. I don't know.
Now get that minivan.
Yeah, get in the minivan and go to Trader Joe's and
strap this kid to the front of your e-bike.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely, you know, the moms of TikTok. I think we all have our own voice, and we all kind of, some overlap a little bit. But one of my friends, who I really have always kind of talked to and about comedy, and we've kept in touch over the years. Her name is Mandy Statmiller. She's a writer, and she was a comedian for a while too. I think she might still perform now and then, and an author. But she and a journalist. I just want to make sure I get it all out there. I called her. It was just after I'd had the baby, and I was like kind of having some baby blues, and I was like, I'd like to start a mom blog, I think maybe, but I don't know. I feel like everyone's kind of, you know, like has done what I want to do already. And she said, well, then you might as well just curl up in a ball and die, you know? And I was like, you know, it was a funny way to say it, but she had a really good point. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to try to do something, then try to do it. And if you're not, then just go fucking die. You know what I mean? Like, get your head out of your ass. Quit or don't.
It's a very New York attitude too. Like, New York is kind of like, what have you done for me lately? Like, you better bring something to the table. You can't just say, oh, I did something 10 years ago. You have to keep on. You have to keep on producing something. You have to keep on making whatever it is. Yeah.
if you don't want to do it anymore, then you don't have to. You know, you can stop and just like go buy a house upstate and start a garden, or like what, you know, whatever, start a business, go sell sandwiches, or I mean, you know, there's other stuff to do. And I've seen a lot of people, a lot of my friends who are comedians have opened up little stores outside of the city, or, you know, started doing this or that project. And I think it's great. You don't have to be a comedian forever, you know. I'm in my 40s now, and I always knew that you know, I mean, I did have an idea that I would probably be doing some kind of performing forever, some kind of creative thing. But I knew that the material that I was talking about was not going to work forever. You know, you can't be prancing around the stage in tight red pants singing "My Pussy Is Magic" from the years of like 40 to 75, you know, and then at 75 you can start again. I plan to return to my magic in like my later 70s, you know, if I should.
Yeah, there'll be a reboot. You'll be a reboot,
yeah.
late 60s, early 70s. There'll be a whole new revival of that.
Mark,
Even what?
even if it's got to be on the moon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Or underwater, depending on what we're doing at the time. Dome stuff. Something else about the book that you made kind of your own, you were trying to take back the dad joke, which I thought was a lot of fun, because dad jokes have become such a staple of the joke-telling world. It's become a unnecessarily male-dominated joke form. The dumb joke is now the dad joke, and you were like, hey, I'm not a dad, I'm a mom, and I can tell a dumb joke just as good as these dads. Better, definitely.
Absolutely. So yeah, it was kind of insulting, you know. You don't think that a mom can tell a dumb joke? No. But that was a fun element of the book, was that I'm a mom, you know, and when I make jokes to my son, he's at that stage right now where anything like poop or fart is like, woo, you know, like those are all hits. And just, you know, anything like sudden, it's pretty easy. You can kind of predict what's going to make him laugh. But sometimes even, you know, just a dumb joke off the cuff will get him, which is kind of cool, you know. And I wonder as he gets older. Oh, and I sent you that picture, right, of that little boy who was reading the book.
Yes.
That was really fun. I think that a lot of the material in here really will cater to kind of like kids. You know, even though some of it is like, I have this one joke that really sticks out in my mind. That's like, how does a Italian man woo a potential romance? I'm like subtexting my own joke because I didn't memorize it, but like he invites her over for linguine, and like it's such a stupid joke. Linguine, get it? Linguine, weenie, and that's the kind of thing that's in here. It's like, it's not that dirty, you know.
It's not that dirty. It helps to have knowledge of words. You need a fairly okay vocabulary to get some of these jokes, but they're not necessarily dirty jokes.
No. But I am a word lover, and I always have been. When I was little, my mom used to read me a lot of different kind of literature, and so I did pick a little bit of that up, and it's always kind of stuck with me. You know, things like the Jabberwocky was a poem she used to read to me a lot, which I still remember parts of it. But have you ever heard it before?
No.
It's like, "'Twas brillig and the slidey toves, did gyre and gimble in the wabe, all mimsy were the burrow goves, and the mome raths outgrabed." So it's like this poem that's basically made up of gibberish words. And it's about this guy who goes out and kills this monster called the Jabberwock. And everyone is like really excited and happy for him. It was written by Lewis Carroll.
I like it.
So that's the kind of stuff, you know, that stemmed this book.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't just pull it out of thin air. You know, it came from this playfulness, and I guess that's maybe where the smart folks comes from.
Yeah, there's good jokes. I mean, it's like, what state is the most inquisitive? Wyoming. What do you get when you combine guacamole and bread? Avocado. It's good. It's gold. Kidding me? #1 best-selling new release in jokes and puns on Amazon.
Number one.
Number one. How about that, Jessica Delfino? That's huge.
Oh, I was not expecting that. That was definitely I expected maybe like, I don't know, 4 people to be like, yeah, you know, but yeah, that was. feeling.
It was surprising. I mean, I was very happily surprised when we were checking the numbers and it was popping up. I was like, a lot of people are buying this this joke book.
Yeah.
It's not like there was a major crazy ad campaign. It was just like we put this book out. We sent it to some people, and then it was on Amazon for like 2 days. It was you have like 36 reviews. Tons of people were buying it. Tons of people were leaving these great reviews. People are still buying it.
A lot of my friends were really supportive, which was nice, and family members and strangers, and it was awesome.
And something we're doing over on the website, I can pull this up, and people, if they're watching this on the live stream on Twitch, welcome. If you're watching this on the live stream on Twitch, hello, people on Twitch.
Hi, Twitch.
Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on Instagram, this is going to be on IGTV directly after the stream. But I'm showing right now, Jessica, I'm showing the Dumb Jokes for Smart Folks joke contest website where people can win a copy of this. Today is the last day for them to enter this contest. They have to write jokes and send them to us, and they can do it right from the website. Show us your jokes, comedy joke contest, and then we are going to have we have Mike Kaplan, we have Dave Hill. They are being judges for the joke contest, two very funny comedians. And then you can just submit it right there on the site. So just go to dumbjokesforsmartfolks.com, and you can get a link to places to buy the book, and you can get links to the joke contest. And it's very exciting. I mean, look at all this stuff. It's all happening, Jessica. It's all happening.
It's all happening. It just happens. Things happen, you know? You have no control over it.
No control.
It just.
And then the next project for you is Moms Who Kill is the working title, and that's going to be out. And that is like essays. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's a book of essays by comedic moms who I know who wrote these really great, really funny, kind of touching stories about what it's like to be a mom and a comedian and try to juggle those things. And I'm just so excited about this book. It's called Moms Who Kill. I don't recommend you Google the title because it brings up a lot of really horrible, awful shit. And I wanted to talk to you about the title of the book, Marty.
Oh, are we changing it? We have to change it?
Google Moms Who Kill, and then let's talk, okay? And
you could help the rankings. I mean, we could be the number one, and then all the gross things can be under us.
Yeah, I mean, it could help us.
I think it would be. It would probably be that woman who throws her children into with the car into the water, right? Is that the story that comes up?
There's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot, isn't it? We don't think about that quite so much, but man.
I don't mean it's a lot like it's a lot intensely. I mean there's a lot of moms.
There's a lot of moms who kill. Yeah, well.
Fucking hard, but not.
Parenting is hard. Well, you're doing great, Jessica. You got one. It's a happy one. He's 4. Yes. He's well adjusted, even though the New York comedy 20s music is out there. Has he been on the internet? Has he looked you up? Has he discovered anything from your 20s, like any music?
He's not online. He does some apps and stuff. I let him play around in his iPad. He does like some kid games and stuff. But I don't. I haven't really shown him any of my. Every once in a while, though, actually, there's a kid show that he watches a lot called Double Dip Recess on WFMU, and they played a song that I wrote a couple weeks ago called "I Like My Mask." And he heard it when it was playing. He was like, "That's you, mommy." You know, like he recognized my voice. That was pretty cute.
That's awesome. It's like when like the movie stars who do a lot of R-rated movies and their kids can never see their stuff, and then they go and they start doing more animated or they do voice acting, and then their kids get to see all their stuff, and it's like a whole different world. And then and then it's like the parent only wants to do the kid stuff because they love the adoration that they get from their children appreciating their work finally.
Yes, I think that must be really fun for kids. I mean, imagine if your parents or like someone, like I always think of it, this is probably stupid, but I always think it must be really fun to be Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt's kids, because they have all these great movies that they're in, and they get to watch them and just kind of almost like relive that chapter of their parents' lives in a way.
Yeah, and super wealthy helps.
And super wealthy, and a lot of bullshit.
Helps.
Also
Helps a little bit. Get a private island or something. It's nice. It's a nice little extra. But the movies are nice. But the money's okay.
They probably have to have security guards with them everywhere they go. But there are pros and cons.
Pros and cons. Pros and cons to everything. So what's coming up next? What are you up to the rest of the week? What's happening in the world of Jessica Delfino?
Well, this week is a busy week. There's like a lot of busy shit to do. I just have like a lot of just dumb stuff like doctor's appointments and
you're out in you're in New York right now, but then you also have a country house in the Pennsylvania region that you've been able to escape to.
Yes,
and it has a koi pond.
Yeah, we do have a.
It's nice.
Like rich people, but it's not. It's just it's like a little country, a beautiful country house.
An estate, an estate in your own way, sure.
Yeah, it's a really cozy little place, and we love to have that option, because we have a 1-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. It's really small, and being in a 1-bedroom apartment with a toddler during a pandemic is hell on earth. So it is nice to be able to go someplace. So we will probably be going back there, at the end of the week. And in the meantime, let's say I'm doing a cookie swap with some friends.
That's awesome.
And it's been really fun, but it's like really hard to work out the logistics of keeping it all like social distance. And
I bet.
So we have this whole thing where everyone's like going to leave their cookies out on the patio, and I'm the designated pickup person. And then everyone has to put their cookies into individual bags so that we can just like put them, into, and I'm wearing gloves while I'm handling the individual bags. It's like a whole process, but we really wanted to do a cookie swap. So I think from everything I've read, it feels like it's legit in terms of, not COVID spreading.
That's good. That's good. That's good that you've been so thorough with all of your cookie swapping. You only want to swap the cookies. You don't want to swap anything else. You don't want to swap any germs. Right. You're good.
That's right.
Well, fun.
So it's a busy week, and then I'll also be promoting the book, more, and I am always pitching. I'm always pitching. So I'll be pitching, and I'll be writing comedy, and I'll be posting onto TikTok at Just Some Mom, which is like my TikTok mom handle. So
that's the kind of the main advice you have for any comedy writers is always be pitching. Pitch.
I like that's. I'm a freelancer. I'm a independent creative person, so that's how I survive. If I don't work, if I don't pitch, if I don't put material out, I don't make money.
How do you know who to pitch to at some of the places? What kind of research do you do? Who seems to be like the number one person that you can get to? Sometimes people just don't know who to talk to. If you want to get to a magazine or a newspaper or whatever, you go on their masthead. You find where do you find some of that?
Well, Google has taken a lot of the guesswork out of it. You didn't used to be able to just go onto Google and say like editor of blah 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 and go like find their Twitter page, their LinkedIn page. There's many different ways to reach out to people now, whereas it used to only be email. And if you didn't have their email, you were kind of SOL.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually, there's only kind of a handful of places that I actively pitch these days. I've kind of narrowed it down to places that, now I have relationships with editors and I can contact them and say, hey, do you want this piece or not? Sometimes, I'll tell you, through the summer, it was so slow. I was like pitching and just like nothing was landing. But thankfully, I also was writing ghostwriting for this company. So I write people's life stories. It's this company called Story Terrorists, and what they do is they basically hire people like me to write people's life story. So, grandma's turning 90 this year, and everyone wants to write her this book about her life. The family is putting it together. So I interview grandma for 6 hours, and then I write this book. And that's
awesome. What a cool gig. How creative. Cool. And you get to accumulate all this material, then you take all the material, then you make it into a book.
Yeah.
And are you learning crazy things about regular people?
Oh my God, yeah. The really funny, really weird, crazy stories, and people have just done so much, interesting and wonderful and weird things. It's really fun to hear people's stories and hear what people like and what they don't like, and and get a sense of people's personalities. Normally these interviews would be taking place in person, but everything's happening over the phone right now and video. So, but you still really get a sense of somebody, and so I did that like all summer. And
would you take that skill and then would you think to yourself, maybe I'll write a novel? Like, are you kind of exercising that novel muscle now because you're writing like longer stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons I took the job is because I said to myself, the idea of writing a book is really intimidating to me. I write kind of short form material. So if I wrote if I write a book for this other person, then I can write a book, and it was really scary the first time. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but I wrote this person a book and it turned out really great and they were happy and I was happy. And then I've written like 8 more, since then. And now I can write a book, that's how I learned to write this book. Is I was like, okay, I can do this. I can write 40,000 or 20,000 or, however many words I need to, and I can do it quickly. I write most of these books in about a week.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
what a cool skill that you can just kind of practice and kind of get better at, like playing an instrument, just like writing a lot of words in a short amount of time. I remember being in college and having to write like a paper, and you would do it like the night before or the morning of, and you could just like bang out like a 30-page paper on something. And like, if I thought about doing that today, I could never do it. But when I was like 18, 19, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll just do that at 10 a.m. And I'll have it done by 1.
I have no problem. I have no problem doing it. It's just, it's one of my lucky skills that I have. I can just sit down and write and write and write and write and write.
Well, that sounds awesome. And if people want to follow you, and maybe they'll DM you questions about writing on Twitter or on Instagram, you are at Jessica Delfino.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm at Just Some Mom on TikTok.
Oh, you got to remember the TikTok. One of these days, I'm going to get on the TikTok. I made the mistake. So in like March, maybe, I think it was before the world fell apart. It was like a week before the world fell apart. I tried making a TikTok for Weekly Humorist. I was like, well, everyone's on the TikTok. I'm going to make a TikTok account, and I'm going to at least be a part of the platform. I don't know what I'm going to put there. So I was making the account, and it was like, I was literally at step 1, and I screwed this up. What's your age? And I was like, well, I'll put the age of the company, right? I didn't think about it being the age, like you had to be an adult. And I put like when the company started. And it made me.
They were like, "You're not allowed."
It made me 3 years old, and it said, "You've been limited to these videos only." And then I couldn't change the account because once you say you're this old, it locks the account, and you're done.
That's crazy that it let a 3-year-old have an account. That's
so
like
if I tried to get the Weekly Humorist account does exist, but I can only look at like baby videos for other baby TikToks, and I was like, oh, so it's all just like animals, like cute animals. Like TikTok is a very different place if you're 3. So that's kind of the world that I was never able to actually do the account. So then I was locked out, and I was like, well, I guess I'm done. So I never made a TikTok, and I don't participate. I can't see anything. Maybe one day I'll figure out how to do an adult TikTok.
Try again. Yeah.
I'll try again. But it was amazing how quickly I screwed it up. Like it was like step 1, nope, done. Okay, moving on.
Well, that's what happens when we get old, Marty. We just don't have technology the same way that
I didn't get it. I didn't understand the question. I was like, can I do a redo? Nope. No, you're done.
Yeah.
Because you screwed that up, you are now not allowed on TikTok. You're done. I was officially off. I'm going to show this to people one more time. They can see the dumbjokesforsmartfolks.com. So go there and enter and get your joke contest. And, you'll win a book from Jessica Delfino. I think she's going to sign it, and we're going to judge your joke. And Dave Hill, Mike Kaplan, thank you to you wonderful comedians for doing that. Also, Dave Hill wrote the theme song for Last Week Tonight, I believe.
Did he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's a musician, which I think is so cool. He does so much cool stuff.
Dave and I feel like we're kindred spirits in that way. Dave is like, I mean, he's so incredibly talented. He paints. He wanted to go to art school. I talked to him about this on his podcast a couple weeks ago. He wanted to go to art school, but he ended up you know, doing something else, going to college. I forget where he went. And he's an incredible artist. His art is so cool. Like, he paints and draws. He's really special. Davis, and Mike is also fantastic. But yeah, I feel like Dave and I have kind of a, I don't know, like if I could be a guy comedian, I'd want to be a Dave Hill.
Yeah, you guys are similar in like you kind of you do your own thing. Like there's comics that are kind of like they're all kind of the same doing this kind of thing over here. They're all kind of that kind of a comedian. And you're like a very much like you do your own thing, you make your own path, you do your own kind of comedy. Totally different, you know, structure, I think. And I feel like Dave Hill's kind of on that kind of vibe too. Sort of a renaissance comedian, I would say.
I think I don't know where he's from. He always talks about Canada, but I'm from Maine. So I think there's something about being from that north upper shelf up there where, you know.
Something's in the water. Something's in the water up there.
Air or something. I don't know. It breeds weirdos, creative weirdos.
Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Jessica Delfino, for being on Talkward. Please
Thanks,
contact her, follow her on all the different places at Jessica Delfino. And what was the TikTok again? What was?
It's just some mom, and I put a couple of videos up a day, so it's I've been pretty active on there lately.
Just Some Mom on TikTok.
Yeah.
Get the book, Dumb Jokes for Smart Folks, on Amazon. Please write a review because they're great to have. They look really nice, and they boost some major confidence over there.
They help the book sell too. So it's helpful to an author or to a business when you write a review.
Mm-hmm. And it's part of the Kindle Unlimited program. So if you are a member of Kindle Unlimited, the book, you can read it for free on Kindle. So that's kind of an exciting thing.
I'm a member of Kindle Unlimited.
So you can read your book as much as you want.
Yep.
Well, thanks so much for talking, Jessica Delfino. Have a happy holiday.
You too, Marty.
Thank you.
So much.
Bye. Well, that was wonderful. Jessica Delfino,
Bye.
thanks for being on the show. Thank you for listening and watching. And we'll see you next time on Talkward. Please subscribe to Weekly Humorist at weeklyhumorist.com. And we'll see you next time. Bye.